everybody. Welcome back to this next video. So this is a follow-up to my 2000s band tier list. I am doing bands from the 1990s. I just remembered that I don't have Green Day in here. I've got to get them. Where are they? Nope. Oh, Green Day aren't here. Never mind. Anyways, so this is going to work similar to the other tier list. Now, are REM in here as well? REM don't belong here. Now the way this is going to work is I've got these bands from the 1990s. There's the Red Hot Chili Peppers who are from the 80s, and then Deftones who formed in the 80s, but they released their first albums in the 90s. But apart from those two, I believe most of these bands are technically 90s bands. So we're just going to be ranking them. For the rankings, we have Perfect, we have Birdman, Goofy, Cringe, David, and I Want to Die. And then down here we have Haven't Heard / Don't Belong on this list. Yeah, Lemonheads, that's you. You're from the 80s. And I'm going to put and REM 2. Because the Lemonheads and REM are both bands from the 80s. They released lots of albums in the 80s. Technically, the Red Hot Chili Peppers did too, but I mean, let's face it. If you're gonna do a band tier list from different time periods, everyone's gonna have the Red Hot Chili Peppers in the 90s, even if they're technically a band who formed in the 80s. So, yep, this is just any other tier list, so let's begin. First off, we have Alice in Chains. Personally, I really like Alice in Chains. I like their heavy, sludgy riffs. I mean, Alice in Chains are essentially a sludge metal band. They're not really grunge like they're put in with. They're classified as a grunge band, but if you listen to them, especially off of their debut Facelift, they're much more metal than they are grunge. And Alice in Chains go in Birdman, mainly because really after their third album, their self-titled Alice in Chains album, they kind of fell off a bit. Like, I like the song Rainier Fog from the album of the same name, and I like the Black Gives Way to Blue album, but apart from those, Alice in Chains without Lane Staley just feels like more Jerry Cantrell solo stuff, so that's why it's not up in Perfect. Yeah, Alice in Chains, they go into Birdman, an incredible band, especially with Lane Staley, and probably one of, if not the best, live band from the 90s. I mean, they were amazing. Next up, we have Blind Melon. I'm gonna put Blind Melon down here in Goofy. I listened to some Blind Melon. It's kind of like acoustic-y sort of dream pop music. And it's decent. I like it, but it's not like my favorite. Normally when I think of dream pop, I think of more reverby, clean guitars with layers of waves all above them and reverby drums, almost unhearable bass, and then sort of like just almost monotone, high-pitched vocals. So they're not a typical dream pop band. They're a bit more innovative than that, using more acoustic elements and stuff, but I still prefer, I don't know, I'm not a big fan of it, even if they're technically more creative. Next up, Blink 182. Blink 182 going cringe. I'm sorry, I know there's a ton of Blink fans out there who like worship Blink 182. They have shrines of Tom DeLonge in their room that they pray to every night, but I don't know. Blink 182, all of their songs sound the same, 4 power chords throughout the whole song. And then, girl, you're only 15. I want to take off your jacket and pants. You're so pretty. Just, I don't know. I don't really like that. There's not much depth to it. You know, I get they're trying to be cringe and they have an immature sense of humor, but I don't know. Apart from Travis Barker's drumming, there's not really much that I like about Blink-182. Next up, we have Blur. I'm gonna put Blur and Goofy as well above Blind Melon. Blur are probably my favorite Britpop band, and they've had some good songs. Song 2 obviously is their biggest one, but I don't know. It kind of pisses me off a bit because Blur started out as kind of a Manchester sound shoegazy sort of band. But then they moved on from that to the mainstream Britpop, and that became big, which kind of feels like selling out to me. So even if they make good music, I still can only put them in Goofy, as I wish they had stayed in sort of shoegazy dream pop sound to just see where that would have taken them. Next up we have Bush. I'm gonna put Bush in a low Goofy. Bush, Glycerine. That song is pretty good, but apart from it, there's just Bush just are just another average, middle of the road 90s alternative radio rock band. There's not really much special going on there. Butthole Surfers. They are a very weird band. They oftentimes, back in the 90s, were trying to be weird, so they'd make the weirdest, craziest, just most incoherent songs imaginable. I don't know, I don't really like them. I like experimental, but when you're just trying to be weird, I don't like it. It doesn't really sound like music to me. So they go in cringe. Next up we have Cake. Cake. Again, I'm not really a huge fan of Cake. They don't really interest me that much. They have the horns, which is cool. I like when a band has a good horn section in it. But apart from that, they're just another mid radio rock band. I'll put them above Bush though, because they are more unique. But yeah, I'm not a big fan of Cake either. And there's Counting Crows. Which one? Hold on. I'm going to, on my phone, look up who Counting Crows are. There are so many bands that are like that. Black Keys, Black Crows, Counting Crows. I'm always getting those three mixed up and forgetting which one is which. Let's see. Counting Crows. Which band are they? They are alternative rock, and there's an album. If I could see an album, I'm gonna look at it. Oh, they're that band. Oh, alright. Counting Crows. I'm gonna put them in another Goofy, just another. Actually, here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna come up here, add a row below. And let's go and change the colors really quick. I'm gonna make this one decent, not decent, decent, Goofy. Okay, there we go. Learn. Okay, there we go. And I'll make here Goofy, here mid. I should have done this before, and I'm sorry. Here, cringe, and then down here, David. Alright, so mid, and then I'll put them down in cringe, because they still belong in cringe. Alright, that's pretty good, actually. Right, next up, alright, I was talking about Counting Crows, sorry. So yeah, Counting Crows is another mid-tier sort of radio rock band. You know, there's nothing really special there. The Cranberries, they are going to come up here to decent. They have a few good songs, but I don't know I don't remember their singer's name. but I'm not a big fan of how she adds a voice crack to the end of every single line. I wish that she would without all the voice cracks, then I'd put them up in Birdman. That's really the big thing holding them back, because I'll be listening, she'll be singing really well, and then suddenly voice crack. And that annoys me, especially when she does this voice crack, which is kind of like a bit of a yodely voice crack. I don't know, it annoys me. It messes up with my ears, breaks the music up. Creed, Creed go down and cringe. Actually, I'm gonna move them back up to Goofy because they're better, much better than Creed. Creed go down and cringe. I do not like Creed. Legitimately, Creed sounds like Pearl Jam if you took Pearl Jam and then made a stereotypical version of what people think Pearl Jam is. Creed are just a really bad band. I don't get how anyone likes them. And if you do like Creed, go get therapy because you clearly have issues. Dave Matthews Band. In the studio, I don't really like the Dave Matthews Band very much. I listened to one of their albums. I didn't listen to their full discography, but I listened to one of their albums, and it was mid. But live, I've watched lots of live clips of Dave Matthews Band, which is what gets them up in decent songwriting, very good live performances, and they're gonna go above all of them actually, top of decent. Next up we have Eve 6, just another mid radio band. I don't really remember much about them. Same with Everclear and Filter, more mid 90s radio rock. Next up we have Foo Fighters. Now the Foo Fighters 90s output was pretty good, but I think they really hit their stride in the 2000s. Now that I think about it, really, Medicine After Midnight, that album wasn't great. That album, I'd say, was just mid. But all the rest of their albums would be anywhere on here between decent and perfect. I mean, they really haven't had many bad albums. So I'm gonna put them at the bottom of Birdman under Alice in Chains. They really are a good band. If you just want to go listen to sort of like The Who, they're kind of like The Who, you know, fairly simple, just fun, easy to listen to radio rock with catchy hooks and good songwriting and decent lyrics. And they're gonna go in Birdman. Next up we have Garbage. Now, I love Garbage, both actual Garbage and the band Garbage. Matter of fact, I sometimes climb into a garbage bag because I want to. Garbage, they're also going to go in Birdman. I'm going to put them under the Foo Fighters, but Birdman. Right. A moment there that my sister was going to come into my room. She sometimes would just randomly come upstairs. Oh, I'm making a video. Next up we have Jen Blossoms. Now I feel weird. I don't know why she doesn't listen when I'm talking. I'm making a YouTube video. Now I feel really awkward. She just walked in on me making a YouTube video. Now I feel weird. I'm gonna pause and then I'm gonna pause recording and then come back to this in a minute. Alright, I have just spent the past like 20 minutes trying to... I actually don't know how long. You can check the timer. I didn't take a look at the time when I paused it, but I spent the past few minutes calming down from my sister storming into my room while I'm trying to make a video. and I actually read something pretty funny. Marilyn Manson released a diss track on My Chemical Romance. It was titled something. What was it titled by? Trying to remember what it was, but it was titled something very emo and over dramatic. Let me look it up again really quick, actually. It's so funny that I have to say what it is. Where is it? Aha, mutilation is the most sincere form of flattery. That's such an emo song name. I'm not a giant Marilyn Manson fan, but that is funny. That sounds like a title that My Chemical Romance would come up with. Anyways, back to ranking. Gin Blossoms. They're another mid-tier radio band, but I'm actually gonna put them. I'm gonna move. Yeah, I'm gonna put them up right under Cake, solely because there's one song they have, Jealousy, which my mom used to play a lot when I was a kid, so I have nostalgia for it. Next up, we have the Goo Goo Dolls. The Goo Goo Dolls, they go up here in the middle of decent, actually. The Goo Goo Dolls are the only band I can think of where they have super cheesy, corny lyrics, but they're able to pull it off in a way that seems sincere and genuine. And on top of that, Johnny Resnick, their guitar player and one of their vocalists, he uses all kinds of crazy tunings on his guitars as well that I just absolutely adore. They're a tiny little, well, not tiny, but they're a little three-piece pop band who started out as a punk band, but then they're using all these complex guitar tunings. It makes no sense, but I love it so much. So they go up in decent. They have their big hits, their best songs are their sort of acoustic-y love ballads, but a lot of their not poppier, punkier songs, and a lot of their sort of post-mid 90s songs were just pretty mid, so that's why they're not any higher. If we were just going off of their best songs, they'd probably go in a high Birdman right under Foo Fighters. Green Day. Green Day are a very up and down band. Green Day, when they're at their best, are amazing. Probably the best pop punk band in history. But when they're at their worst, they're awful. And there's such an up and down with Green Day. Their early albums really up into all of their albums really up to all of their albums from the 90s is what I'm trying to say. All of those albums are pretty good pop punk albums. And then they release American Idiot in 2004, which is another great pop punk album. But then after American Idiot, it's felt like, they can't figure out how to reach that old magic again. You can tell that they're trying, especially on their last album they released, but it's not really enough. So just because of that, I'm gonna put Green Day at the very top of decent, but I can't put them any higher. Next up, we have Hole. That goes in David, mostly because Courtney Love, she cannot sing, she cannot play the guitar, and I genuinely believe Kurt Cobain played a major role in writing all of their songs because there's a very Kurt sound that they bring in. Kurt had a way with melodies that just sounds Kurt-like, and a lot of their big songs have those Kurt-like melodies in them. Beauty and the Blowfish, cringe. So yeah, I don't like Hole, and I hate Courtney Love. Courtney Love, if you somehow watch this, just go kill yourself. Incubus. Incubus are gonna go right here under Alice in Chains and Birdman. Incubus are a very good band. They do all kinds of different stuff, and they're very talented band overall. I really need to go back through Incubus's discography, but yeah, they're just a very good band that I would strongly recommend. Next up, we have Jane's Addiction. I'm gonna put Jane's Addiction right there in Goofy. I don't really like Jane's Addiction, mainly because Perry Farrell. I really hate Farrell's voice. It's all I have here. It sounds kind of emo, but then he puts reverb on it. And just, I don't like that. I don't like that sound at all in any way. I don't like his high pitched, shrieking, whining vocals. I don't like his lyrics. I don't like his songwriting. There are so many people who consider Perry Farrell like this broken, messed up musical genius. All I see when I look at him is a guy who doesn't really know what he's doing and has managed to spin that into his whole career. I don't get it. And I don't get why people are obsessed with Jane's Addiction so much. They're not really that good. Jimmy Eat World, there they go. I'll put them at the top of Goofy as I prefer them to Blink 182, but they're another pop punk emo band. I don't really care for them that much. My life would not be over if suddenly Jimmy Eat World stopped existing. I'd live on happily. Korn? I know there are a lot of die-hard Korn fans, and I can understand why. I truly get why there's so many die-hard Korn fans, but at the same time, I don't really like Korn that much. I don't know. I'm not a big fan. Again, I can understand why there's the fans. I can get the hype. I get all of that, but I don't really like Korn. I don't know. I'll put Korn at the top of. I'd probably take those guys over Korn. I'll put Korn at the bottom of mid. I don't know. I don't really get Korn. I get why people like them, but it doesn't really resonate with me like it does for other people, I guess. Next up, Limp Bizkit. Just know yourself. Limp Bizkit is awful. Live. They're another mid 90s radio band that sounds like all the other mid 90s radio bands. Marcy Playground. Marcy Playground, most of their songs are mid 90s radio band songs, but their song Sex and Candy is legitimately one of my favorite songs from the 90s. If I was making like a 90s song tier list, not a 90s band tier list, Sex and Candy would be like top 25 or something. I really like that song, so just because of that, they're going to go at the top of mid. Matchbox 20. I don't really like Matchbox 20 to be honest. I tried to listen to Matchbox 20, but they're not deep enough emotionally for me to grab on to the emotional aspects like I can for some other sort of fairly simple musically bands. They're not heavy and loud enough for me to resonate with via, anger and frustration and hate. They're not really complex musically enough for me to find myself wrapped up in the arrangements and the composition. They are legitimately the definition of mid. If you like Matchbox 20, that's fine, but they're not really my thing. There's nothing for me to latch on to. Matchbox 20, I'm trying to think of a good thing. Matchbox 20 is like a TV show that it's just, it checks all the boxes. There's nothing particularly wrong with it, but just there's nothing really to latch onto either, so you just put it to play in the background while you do other stuff. That is literally what Matchbox 20 is. It's just background noise, really. Next up, Modest Mouse. Modest Mouse are an indie band, and I'll be honest, I listened to Modest Mouse a few times, and I don't know. I mean, it was fine, but it wasn't life changing or anything. It's not like I listened to a few songs and was like, oh, this is my new favorite band. Like I did with a couple other bands we'll get to on this very list actually later. I don't know, I'll put Modest Mouse at the bottom of decent as I would take them over every band down here, but they're just I don't really like Modest Mouse enough to put it any higher. Next up we have Neutral Milk Hotel. Perfect. I love Neutral Milk Hotel. Yeah. In the Airplane Over the Sea is legitimately a top 10 album for me. I love the fact that a single guy like woke up one day and then was like, you know what? I'm gonna go create the greatest indie folk album of all time. And then went into his basement with an acoustic guitar, only knowing how to play four chords, and then a bunch of random instruments he found lying around. And then just wrote down the stupidest things he could think of and made a concept album out of it. I love that so much. And the fact that it actually turned out to be one of the most emotionally resonant, depressing albums of all time just makes it even better. I love Neutral Milk Hotel. They go up in perfect. Next up we have New Radicals. New Radicals. I find New Radicals to be fascinating, like a fascinating story. Their lead singer and songwriter, I don't remember his name, but before he formed New Radicals, he was trying to set himself up. He was trying to set himself up as like a 90s Jim Morrison, a dark gothic sex icon, but he couldn't really pull it off, and he wound up getting embarrassed from how cringe it was. So he went from that, and then he formed New Radicals. New Radicals wrote the greatest pop song in history, and then they just completely dropped off the face of the earth because the leader, the guy I was talking about a minute ago, he didn't want to be famous anymore because of how embarrassed he was for being cringe. So, I haven't listened to an entire New Radicals album, so I can't rank them fairly. But based off of the songs I have listened to, I'm gonna put them right under Alice in Chains and Birdman, just because they did write the greatest pop song in history. Next up, we have Nine Inch Nails. Nine Inch Nails, I went through this big industrial phase back when I first started college last semester. And Nine Inch Nails was the big band I listened to. And I'll be honest, I really like Nine Inch Nails. I like the music. I love Trent Reznor's voice. I like the lyrics. I like the instrumentals and the composition. However, to listen to Nine Inch Nails, the problem is I have to be in a very certain mood to listen to Nine Inch Nails. Because if I'm not in that mood, I'll listen to it, and then it'll anger me, it'll piss me off, and I'll rage quit. I already have to be very angry, but I can't be angry at the music. I have to be angry at something or someone else to listen to Nine Inch Nails. So when I'm very angry and upset, Nine Inch Nails would go in Birdman easily. You know what? I'll still put them in the bottom of Birdman because they are a good band. I can't listen to them without getting angry, and I don't like to be angry. Next up, we have Nirvana. Nirvana is an easy perfect. I'll put them above Neutral Milk Hotel, actually. Bleach is a very solid, sludgy sort of Melvins album. In my opinion, it actually sounds better than the Melvins. I get why people like the Melvins, but I'm not a giant fan. I went through this short Melvins phase, but then I sort of grew out of it, and I haven't really gone back since. So Bleach, very solid album, very good album. And then of course Nevermind, one of the greatest albums of all time. And then they follow up Nevermind with the greatest Nirvana album, and easily a top 10 album for me, In Utero. Seriously, In Utero is just so good. So they are an easy perfect. Next up, we have No Doubt. No Doubt, No Doubt going goofy. Haha, it's so funny. I'm not a. I'm gonna put No Doubt at the top of Goofy. I don't really like No Doubt that much, to be honest. Gwen Stefani. What was that? How long has the audio not been recording? I don't know what that was. My headphones both just started talking to me, but not like voices or anything. It was like whenever they connect to something, it says right channel, left channel. And suddenly both of those happen, but I don't remember them disconnecting. If the audio of this video did not record at any parts at all, I swear I am going to maul. Yeah, anyways, No Doubt, they go in Goofy. I like No Doubt a little bit, I guess. I like one song, I don't remember the name of it, but I don't know, they're not really that great in my opinion. They just the sound. I don't really get No Doubt, I guess. Next up we have Oasis. So for Oasis, they're fine, you know. They have some good songs, and their first two albums are both actually pretty good. I'm not gonna say they're incredible or anything, but their first two albums are both very fair albums, with really the only thing that is holding Oasis back is yep, Wonderwall. Please forgive my guitar for not being completely in tune. I did not think to tune it before I made this video because I did not think I was going to do that. But I thought that it would be a funny throwback to my Smashing Pumpkins video where I played Wonderwall. Now I think about it, nobody who watches this is going to remember the Smashing Pumpkins video, so that was a complete waste of time, and I feel like an idiot. Anyways, Oasis, their first two albums are both very good for sort of just 90s Brit pop, you know. They're good, but they're nothing too special. I don't, and then of course, there's Wonderwall, which has become a meme, and then after that they completely fell off. So I'll put Oasis at the top of mid. Next up, we have The Offspring. What was that? I heard my right headphone say something. I wonder what that was. Anyways, The Offspring. The Offspring. The Offspring are kind of a mixed bag. It's the exact same as it is with Green Day. When they are good, when they're at their best, they are incredible. Only really beaten by Green Day in terms of how good their songs can be. However, when they're not at their best, they're not that great and they make some pretty bad songs. So I don't know, The Offspring, they'll go right there. They're fine, you know, they're good albums. I do recommend. So really, any of their debut, definitely. Americana, it's another great album. It's very controversial, but The Rise and Fall from Grace, I think that album slaps. It goes absolutely crazy. So yeah, The Offspring, they'll go right there in decent. Next up, we have Papa Roach. Papa Roach goes down in cringe. I really do not like Papa Roach at all. I'm not a big fan of most new metal. I like Slipknot. I like Slipknot. They're not really new metal, but Rage Against the Machine. I like, what else do I like? Oh, I like Linkin Park. I like System of a Down. Korn, Korn are fine, but that's about it. I don't like, oh, Deftones, right? And I like Deftones. Where are Deftones? I haven't seen them on this list yet. I already knew them. I think about it, all of the bands I added on this list aren't on here. I'm gonna pause it and then go add them real quick. Alright, so sorry about that. I put all of these bands I was going to rank in here, but then I guess they didn't come through when I transferred it to presentation view. Anyways, I'm not a big fan of most new metal. That includes Papa Roach. Next up, Pearl Jam. They don't go there. How did I do that? I pressed something and something happened, and then my laptop started moving up even though I wasn't touching anything. How did that happen? Pearl Jam, they're gonna go at the bottom of Birdman. 10 is a great album. Really, Pearl Jam's first 3 albums are great, but then after that, they just think it's really, honestly, it's the exact same as it is with Alice in Chains. I was just startled by my cat. I was sitting here, it's like nearly 2 in the morning. I'm making a video, and then I see this black shadow just moving towards me, and I completely freaked out. Like, I didn't make any verbal noises, but my heart stopped, and I jumped back when I saw him. I get you to do some ASMR. Hurry. I'm not going to get him to do kitty ASMR. He is here. Anyways, Pearl Jam. It's really similar to Alice in Chains, actually. They had 3 great albums, and they just sort of seemed to just not. They had a few decent ones, but nothing really too noteworthy. They go in Birdman. At the bottom of Birdman. Next up, we have the Pixies. In my opinion, why are the Pixies here? The Pixies are 80s too, they're not a 90s band. This is not a tier list that I made, this is one that I found. When I do the 80s bands, I'll probably just make it, because whoever made this tier list clearly does not know what year's bands are from. Presidents of the United States of America. I was going to sing the national anthem, but I forgot it. It was, da 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 do. They'll go right below Goo Goo Dolls. They're more of a comedy band than they are a serious one. Their big hit song was Peaches, with arguably the greatest comedic music video of all time. Like, the band members, I'm not gonna spoil it actually. I might do I might talk about it on live stream, because I'm streaming over on Twitch. I stream I stream all kinds of stuff. I stream games. Mostly I stream games that my friends recommend to me. So they'll say like, hey, you should go play this game, or hey, you should play this game, you should play this game. And then I'll stream that. And then I also sometimes do reactions to videos if I can't get anything else to work, which happens a lot because this is my computer. And you all who are watching after I've made, recorded, and edited the video have no idea how difficult it is to do anything with this piece of shit laptop. Anyways, Presidents of the United States, very goofy band that I liked. They go in the middle of decent. Radiohead. I don't even need to talk about it. Radiohead are my favorite musical artists, not just band, not just rock band, no, musical artists of all time. Legitimately, they are up there with Pink Floyd, Talking Heads, and David Bowie as one of the bands whose music is going to be played for centuries. They are going to be, we are going as a society, we are going to look back at Radiohead in like 600 years, like how we in current days look back at Mozart and Beethoven. That is how great Radiohead are. They are just, they're just perfect. And of course, they have Tommy Boy, who is amazing. Next up, we have Rage Against the Machine. Rage Against the Machine, I like them some, so I'll put them under Oasis and Marcy Playground in mid. I really like Bomb Track, but I don't know. For me, it's really difficult to distinguish the music, which is really good, from what's the guitarist's name? I keep thinking it's Tom DeLonge, but he's from Blink 182. I feel like such a failure, a disgrace to society. I should go and then curl up in my garbage bag and then throw myself out my window in my garbage bag and land in my neighbor's trash can and then stay in there until I disintegrate. Because I have forgotten, what's his name? I have forgotten Tom Morello's name. Yeah, it's really hard for me to distinguish the music from Tom Morello's ego. The guy, every time I see Tom Morello, he just, he pisses me off. He has this I'm better than you, I'm in Rage Against the Machine, I'm cool, I'm awesome, we did all sorts of cool stuff. Attitude just really rubs me the wrong way. I really don't like it. I get Rage Against the Machine's music, I get why people like it, I get why it's so looked up to and loved, but at the same time, I really don't like Tom Morello as a person. He's a stuck-up douchebag who loves to hear himself talk. And let's face it, if you took away all of his fancy guitar tricks, he would just be a mid guitarist. He's a lot like the Edge from U2, where they rely more on things like effects, pedals, or effects, reverb, delay, stuff like that to make up their sound than they do actual skill. And if you take away that sound, and all of the effects and all of the cool sounding tricks they do, you just wind up with a mid guitarist. Yeah, that's why I put Rage Against the Machine there. If I could separate Rage Against the Machine from Tom Morello's ego, it would go up in Birdman. It's so hard for me to do. I don't know why. There are some bands like Guns N' Roses where I can completely overlook Axl Rose's bitchy attitude and say they have good music. I really like the music. So I can just ignore the attitude. But then we get to Rage Against the Machine and it's impossible. I think the reason is that Axl Rose has mellowed out over the years, but Tom Morello hasn't. I think that's really where the annoyance comes from now that I think about it. Tom Morello seems to have gotten more egotistical as time goes on, while Axl Rose has mellowed out, so I think that's it. Next up, we have Red Hot Chili Peppers. That is an easy Birdman right under Alice in Chains. Red Hot Chili Peppers are great. John Frusciante is probably one of, if not the best alternative rock guitarist in history. And yeah, just Red Hot Chili Peppers are amazing. I really like the Chili Peppers. I like the way they combine funk, and they combine funk, they combine hip hop, they combine alt rock. They they combine all these different ideas together in a way that is very unique. No other band sounds like the Chili Peppers, and they're really good songwriters, especially John Frusciante. If you go back and listen to the songs that John Frusciante led, they have incredible choruses. John Frusciante writes some of my favorite choruses I have ever heard, like the chorus to "By the Way." Oh, it's so amazing. So is the chorus to "Dose" and "Can't Stop." They have so many jaw-dropping choruses that I adore, but they also have a bunch of fun, funky dance songs that give it away. Semisonic, they are really, to me, they're just another mid-90s radio rock band. So I'm gonna put them, I'm gonna move Matchbox 20 in the middle again. I'm just gonna put them there. Next up, we have Silverchair. They're another radio rock band. Smash Mouth. If you take away the somebody meme, there's really not a lot to Smash Mouth. I'm not a big fan, so yeah, they're the epitome of goofy, so they go at the top of goofy. Smashing Pumpkins. Now, Smashing Pumpkins, they are a complex case, mainly because if you do remember my older videos on my channel, you might know I have one-sided beef with Billy Corgan. So, because of the beef, I'd put Smashing Pumpkins in cringe. However, since I'm trying to not do that and really only letting myself do it for Rage Against the Machine, I'm gonna put the Smashing Pumpkins for their music about there. I think that's there. Well, if I'm gonna do it for Smashing Pumpkins, I should for Rage as well, even if I really don't like Tom Morello as a person. Rage is okay. Soul Asylum. Soul Asylum are another mid-90s radio band, but once again, they have the advantage of there's one song of theirs that my mom used to play that I really like. They go at the top of mid. The song is Runaway Train. It's really well written. It has good hooks, good chorus, good lyrics. Soundgarden. Soundgarden goes once again up in Birdman, above the Chili Peppers, right under Alice in Chains. Soundgarden are a great. Chris Cornell has one of the best voices you will ever hear. Really, the only reason I'm not putting Soundgarden higher is because I feel that Soundgarden needed more definitive guitar solos. Could you imagine an Alice in Chains or a Pearl Jam style solo in a Soundgarden song, especially an Alice in Chains style solo? It would have elevated the music so much more than the wah-wah spam noises that Kim File often made. Don't get me wrong, Kim File's a great songwriter, but as a lead guitar player, I don't know, there's a bit to be lacking there, and I wish they had more. It does, just more rock-sounding solos over the wah-wah Soundgarden noises. Next up, we have the Spin Doctors. They're just yet another little radio band. They're once again, I'm gonna go here. There's not a lot to talk about. Their first album was fine. Not too special, but not difficult to listen to. And after that, they're just not great. Stained. I'm gonna put Stained in cringe. Right above Beauty, actually. Stained, I don't really like Stained very much. I went through this short phase back when I was like 15, where I liked sustained a lot, mainly because the lead singer talks about issues he has with his dad. You know, he talks about his daddy issues, and I have those as well. However, as I have matured and gotten older, I realized whining and moaning about my dad not loving me is just a waste of time, and just decided to grow up, and now it just sounds cringe. You know, he's like a 20-something-year-old man whining that his dad didn't play baseball with him or whatever. That sounds cringe to me now. Stone Temple Pilots. Stone Temple Pilots, now I think about it, they are the exact same as Alice in Chains and Pearl Jam. They start out as an incredible band, release 3 amazing albums, and then just drop off. Stone Temple Pilots, I have to put them up here in Birdman. I think I'm going to put them above Alice in Chains, actually. If I had to pick between Stone Temple Pilots' first 3 albums and Alice in Chains' first 3, I think I'd pick Stone Temple Pilots. Oh, mainly because Vatican Gift Shop is such a good album. There's jazz influences to it. There's, you know, all those jazzy chords. And then there's so many good guitar solos. Look, it's just fascinating lyrics. That's why it goes at the top of Birdman, because their first 3 albums really carried Stone Temple Pilots. And then, you know, they kind of dropped off after that. Next up, we have Sublime. Sublime, they go at the very bottom of decent. Sublime, they're a fine band. I can get why people like them. I don't know, that reggae guitar bam, 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 bam noise that they use a lot, that just gets a bit old after a while. You know, I wish that they'd sort of shake it up a bit, add a bit of a funk to it. Sugar Ray. Sugar Ray go at the bottom of mid. They are yet another just mid band that I don't really get. Third Eye Blind. Again, they just go mid. They're just mid. There's not a lot to talk about with a lot of these bands. They're legitimately just mid. Alright, Tool. If there was a band that was like the musical incarnate of Reddit mods, it would be Tool. You know, Maynard James Keenan, he comes across as a giant snob with the way he talks to people. Like, I remember there was this YouTube short or something. I don't remember exactly what it was. There was this short form content video that came up once, which is one of the rare short form videos to actually get my attention span. And it was Maynard James Keenan talking about something. So I watched it, and essentially it was this video of him replying to some guy who was asking him a question about Tool, and Maynard James Keenan came off as very condescending. Ever since I watched that video, it's been very difficult for me to distinguish Tool from Maynard James Keenan's snobbery, similar to like Rage Against the Machine. If it was just down to music, they'd probably go in not Birdman, they'd go in Decent, go album. They're indecent. I can get why some people can like Tool. You know, they have a very unique soundscape, very unique sound, very unique lyrics, but it gets a bit boring to listen to 10, 11-minute songs back to back. Next up, The Verve. The Verve are gonna go right here in decent as well, right above the Goo Dolls. The Verve's first album was actually a shoegaze album, believe it or not, and it was pretty good. And I liked that The Verve didn't really sell out. They continued to be experimental with it. That's what I really liked. They're gonna I'm gonna put them above Tool. Blur because the Verve are like what Blur could have become. Next up, we have the Wallflowers. They're just another mid-90s radio band. It doesn't really matter where they go mid. And then Weezer. Weezer have some songs I like. I like Hash Pipe. I like Say It Ain't So. I love Haunt You Every Day off of Make Believe. I believe Haunt You Every Day is their best song and it is on their worst album. I find that so ironic. But at the same time, a lot of Weezer's music is just overly self-indulgent and whiny. And I didn't listen to Weezer when I was like 14. I get the feeling that to really love Weezer, you had to listen to it when you were a young, new teenager to truly sort of connect with it. And I listened to Weezer when I was 17. Most people who, at least most people that I know who adore Weezer were like 14 or 15. I don't know, Weezer. They'll go at the bottom of decent because I would take Weezer over a lot of the bands below them. Technically over every band actually. Yeah, they're just I don't really have the nostalgia of people. And these are some bands I thought should have been included but weren't. First we have American Football. American Football is, in my opinion, the best Midwest emo album of all time. It sounds amazing. All of the songs are amazing. It doesn't rely on math rock too much. There's a tiny bit of complexity in the album, just a little bit of math rock, but not enough where it becomes the sole purpose of the album. It uses math rock the way it should be used to add some complexity so that you can, have these complex arrangements below simplified melodies above it so they kind of counteract each other to create an overall soundscape. And then American Football, if they only released their debut, I'd legitimately put it in perfect. The problem is their follow-up albums are pretty bad, so that's why they're only going in decent, right at the bottom, because really they only have one album that I could say I'd listen to and love, and then the others are just not great. Deftones. Deftones, their first two albums, I think, I wasn't a giant fan of. They had a few songs I liked, but overall, I didn't like them much. There's no particular reason I didn't like their albums. I didn't. Just one of those things where I just didn't like the sounds it was making. But then as they went on and they turned away from more sort of new metal and towards more sort of almost like a mix of sludge metal and not dream gaze, that's not what people think, shoegaze. They became much more fascinating, which is why I'm gonna put them right under those guys in Birdman. I really do like a lot of Deftones' later stuff. Duster. Duster are an indie band that I like a fair amount. I'm not going to say they're like my favorite of all time, but I feel they go. I'm going to take them over. I'll put them right there. I think that's fair. Next up, we have Fishmans. Fishmans is a fascinating band in my opinion. I was looking up like best dream pop albums on Rate Your Music because I am a chronic Rate Your Music user. And I read that one of the best dream pop albums is this Fishman album. I don't know what the title of it is. It's not even a full album. It's just like a really long, I think it's like half an hour long song. And I really like it actually. It had this guitar solo at one point, which really stuck with me. It was a great guitar solo. Excuse me again. I'm yawning. That means I'm getting sleepy. Yeah, Fishmans overall, but just very good band. I really like Fishmans. So they're gonna go at the right at the bottom of Birdman because they are a very good band. I do strongly recommend them. Origin, when you inevitably watch this, if you get this far, you should listen to Fishmans. They're Japanese, and I think you'd really like them. Next up, Godspeed to Black Emperor. I love that name so much. They're gonna go up here at the bottom of Decent. I get why people like them, but I and I like them some, but they're not like my favorite. Even my favorite post rock, they go in Decent. My Bloody Valentine, that's an easy perfect right up there. You know what, I'm gonna actually put it right below Nirvana, but above Neutral Milk Hotel. Easy perfect. They are My Bloody Valentine, great shoegaze band. Just amazing. I love My Bloody Valentine. When I first listened to When You Sleep, that was my big aha moment. And, you know, My Bloody Valentine really led to me going down into more experimental music. It was My Bloody Valentine that sort of bridged the gap from me listening to stuff like Nirvana, Metallica, Green Day, you know, more normie music into more indie music like Neutral Milk Hotel, or, you know, more experimental like Deftones or Radiohead. My Bloody Valentine's kind of that crossover band, and I still believe that to this day they are the most perfect shoegaze band. They're the closest bands to have perfected it. They are just so good. Next up, we have Portishead, who are a trip hop band. Honestly, at first I hated Portishead, but as I've gotten older, I've grown to like it more, so I'll put it right there. And then last, Slowdive. If we were just going off of the Slovakia album, Slowdive would go in perfect, but we have to include the other albums, which I don't really like as much. So I say bottom of Birdman. Actually, no, top of Decent. There we go. Alright, so this is my 90s band tier list. If you watched all 1 hour and 2 minutes of this video, well, first of all, why? And second of all, thank you. And yeah, I will be making more videos later. I'm going to continue World's Smartest Man Plays Minecraft. And again, I am streaming on Twitch. Let's see, what games do I have coming up? I'm trying to learn how to get the game Genshin Impact to work. That is a heavily requested game amongst my friends for me to play. Trying to learn how to get that to work. I'm planning on doing a Sims challenge stream as well. And so yeah, thank you for The Sims Duck Simulator 2. I might stream that game again. I streamed that last night. Last night, as of the time I recorded this video, and I love that game. It's so funny. So I might start to do Duck Simulator 2 speed runs. Yeah, just other games as well. I might even do a few live tier lists and reactions and stuff. So yeah, thank you for watching this far. Good night.